Not legal easy? For less intimidating law, visit thelaws.com Legal Center and take the mystery out of the law. Coin.com. Stay connected.
Watch Jeff Gianola and Kelly Day on Coin 6 News.
A mystery disaster in the sky. Was it terror or tragic error or an accident as a Russian passenger plane explodes and crashes into the sea? Some of the world versus bin Laden. Britain reveals evidence linking the terrorist to the crime of the century. U.S. forces are now cocked and ready now to strike back. But where is bin Laden? Eye on America shows you how easy it was for a terrorist to come to the U.S., and there could be more here like him.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. When a Russian jetliner carrying at least 76 people from Israel to Siberia exploded today and plunged into the Black Sea, nearly everyone's first thought was another terror attack. And tonight that has not been ruled out. But U.S. military analysts say they believe that what happened is stranger than terrorism, that the explosion was a bizarre accident. No one knows. It remains a mystery. But CBS's David Hawkins reports a leading theory is the plane may have become an unintended target of military training exercises going on more than 30,000 feet below.
U.S. officials say the Siberian Airlines flight that crashed into the Black Sea was accidentally shot down by a surface-to-air missile. Joint Russian and Ukrainian military exercises were underway nearby, and Ukrainian warships capable of carrying long-range, high-altitude anti-aircraft missiles were in the area. But the Ukrainian Defense Ministry maintains that none of its weapons could have hit the aircraft, claiming it was out of range. The Russian-built Tupolev 154 was en route from Tel Aviv to Novosibirsk in Siberia. It crashed about 100 miles from the Russian coast near Russia's border with Ukraine.
After 4 hours of flight, we have received an information from the Siberian airline that they have no connection with the plane.
At least 66 passengers and 10 crew members were on board. Most, if not all of the passengers, were Israeli citizens, immigrants from the former Soviet Union. As a precaution against the possibility that the airliner was the target of a terrorist attack, Israel suspended all outgoing flights from its Tel Aviv airport. Israeli officials, however, doubt that a bomb was planted on board. The airport security here is perhaps the tightest in the world. Distraught family members of the victims arrived at the airports in Israel and Russia looking for information about their loved ones. Whatever investigators finally conclude brought down the Russian airliner, it will be no consolation. David Hawkins, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
As the United States tries to build and hold together an international coalition to fight terrorism, America's main ally made public today some of the evidence that Osama bin Laden was behind the murderous attacks of September 11th. Bin Laden is seen here with his top deputy in new videotape said to be the first pictures of him since the attacks. The videotape is being aired by Al Jazeera, the Arabic language news broadcaster which often receives communications from bin Laden's group. These pictures supposedly show the terror leader attending military exercises with his forces. CBS's Mark Phillips in London reports tonight on the case against bin Laden as told by Britain's Prime Minister.
The much-awaited evidence delivered behind a tight security cordon in Britain's Parliament is a response to those who have been demanding proof linking Osama bin Laden to the attacks. Tony Blair today presented the most comprehensive indictment yet.
Since the attacks, we have obtained the following intelligence.
The evidence that 3 of the 19 hijackers have been positively linked to bin Laden's al-Qaeda terrorist group. That before the attack, bin Laden operatives around the world were warned to return to Afghanistan because of an action planned around September 11th. That one of bin Laden's closest lieutenants helped plan the attack and has admitted that al-Qaeda was involved. The conclusion, Blair says, is inescapable.
We have absolutely no doubt that bin Laden and his network were responsible for the attacks on the 11th of September.
A lot has been left out of this indictment. Names, details, sources, evidence too sensitive to publish. But other British politicians, opponents of Tony Blair's, have been shown that evidence in confidence, and they say it's conclusive.
Any war against these people is a just war.
Tony Blair went to Moscow this evening to reinforce Russian cooperation in the coming battle. But while the new indictment may be accepted in the Kremlin, this Arabic-language newspaper editor says he senses skepticism elsewhere.
If you are willing to be convinced, you will find it convincing. If you are not willing to be convinced and member of the coalition, this document actually would shed more doubts on the American accusation of Osama bin Laden.
Today's indictment reaches a chilling conclusion. Bin Laden and al-Qaeda, it says, retain the will and resources to carry out further atrocities. Mark Phillips, CBS News, London.
Support for bin Laden remains strong in some of the poorest parts of Pakistan, a country vital to U.S. military plans. But as sick and hungry Afghan refugees pour across the border, CBS's Alan Pizzi reports that the Pakistan government now says it believes bin Laden is guilty.
The problem of convincing skeptical Pakistanis to support an alliance with Washington in the fight against terrorism was eased today when the government announced it had been given evidence against Osama bin Laden.
That was provided to us.
The Pakistani Foreign Ministry spokesman said it provided sufficient basis for indictment in a court of law. There will, of course, be no court of law, and the suspect can't be found, but his protectors appear to be in trouble. The Taliban's Islamic-based rule is falling afoul of Afghanistan's ethnic and tribal diversity. A plan by Afghan tribal elders to convene a traditional assembly known as a Loya Jirga to help set up a new administration has been condemned by the Taliban leadership. But according to a former governor of Kandahar, the Taliban's spiritual homeland, the plan is eroding their power base. Taliban officials are contacting their tribal leaders, Gul Agha Shirzai says, looking for ways to get out. Pakistan, too, has many reasons for wanting a quick end to the Afghan problem. Another one has just surfaced. 10-year-old Ismail Sadiq has an Ebola-like hemorrhagic fever known as Congo Crimea. As many as 60 suspected cases have been diagnosed since June. The disease has a fatality rate of almost 50%, and doctors believe it came here by way of Afghan refugees. Given the crowded, unhygienic conditions the refugees live under, any communicable disease could quickly become an epidemic. And Congo Crimea is just one of a host of horrors that thrive here. Tuberculosis, meningitis, and pneumonia are also lurking, and war is one of their best friends. More reasons for Pakistan to help get Osama bin Laden. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Quetta.
America's 18 NATO allies today officially approved the U.S. request for military help in the fight against terror. This includes access to airfields and seaports and early warning radar planes. CBS's David Martin has the latest tonight on the readiness of the U.S. military to strike when the time is right. David?
Dan, in closed-door briefings on Capitol Hill, senior Pentagon officials have told members of Congress almost all the air and ground forces needed for strikes into Afghanistan are in place.
The aircraft carrier Kitty Hawk has not yet arrived in the Indian Ocean. Combat troops have not yet moved into Uzbekistan, and there continue to be minor glitches along the way. Breakdowns of transport planes, for instance, have clogged the tarmac on Guam in the Pacific. But there's already plenty of firepower in range of Afghanistan. What's needed is good, hard intelligence on Osama bin Laden and his whereabouts.
It's not going to be a cruise missile or a bomber that's going to be the determining factor. It's going to be a scrap of information from some person in some country that's going to provide the kind of information that's going to enable us to pull this network up by its roots.
There is already plenty of intelligence on Afghanistan's repressive Taliban regime, everything from its tiny and antiquated air force to its 50,000-man army. One way of getting at bin Laden is to attack the Taliban, since according to the British White Paper, he could not operate his terrorist activities without the support of the Taliban regime. And there is also plenty of intelligence on the millions of Afghan people who have fled their homes to escape war and starvation. Today, President Bush pledged to send in $320 million in humanitarian aid, some of which will be airdropped by the U.S. military.
There's no doubt in my mind but that there will be some food drops by the military over a period of time.
Rumsfeld added that before sending lumbering cargo planes over Afghanistan, he will have to make sure they won't be shot down, either by avoiding Afghan air defenses or destroying them. Dan?
David Martin at the Defense Department. CBS News has obtained exclusive new evidence from inside Afghanistan showing why the dictatorial Taliban are feared and hated by so many of the Afghan people. I caution you that some of the pictures are very difficult to look at. CBS's Kimberly Dozier reports they expose the horrors of life and death under Taliban rule.
Under the earth of remote central Afghanistan lies possible proof of Taliban war crimes. Villagers are digging up the victims of the Yakalang massacres. These pictures obtained by CBS News tell the story. They took my father out of our home, Saeed Azizullah said. They said they would kill him. They did. Like the others, he was found shot, his hands tied behind his back. Human rights officials say Taliban commanders carried out at least 14 systematic massacres since 1997, this one earlier this year, all part of a brutal campaign to expand their territory.
There may be an opportunity now, as conditions are changing in Afghanistan, to actually go forward and arrest and indict these individuals.
These Hazara tribesmen have been targeted again and again. They are Shia Muslims, an interpretation of Islam considered blasphemous by the Taliban. Thousands of their homes have been burned, so have their markets and their mosques. The Taliban even torched Islam's holiest book, the Quran. This is the enemy U.S. forces face, its strength in its ruthlessness. As one Shia survivor put it, you'll understand what they are when they come over your borders and attack you. Muslims are shedding the blood of other Muslims, this tribesman sang. The people of Yakalang want the killers brought to account. Kimberly Dozier, CBS News, Islamabad.
We learned more today about the movements of some of the hijackers in the hours before the attack on America. Surveillance cameras captured two of them in Portland, Maine, the day before they struck. CBS's Jim Stewart has the pictures and how they may help in the investigation.
On the night before he died, hijacker Abdul Aziz Al-Amari showed many moods. One moment he's scowling, and the next he has a wolfish grin. That man behind him at the ATM machine is believed to be his boss and terrorist ringleader, Mohammed Atta, wearing the same inscrutable look as always. The pictures were released today by the FBI in hopes that someone else would recognize the pair.
What we'd like to do is get some more specifics on what they did and particularly who they talked to.
After checking into this Comfort Inn, security cameras captured pictures of Al-Amari and Atta all over Portland, Maine the day before the hijackings, making a withdrawal at an ATM machine, buying gas at a local station, even inside a Walmart store making undetermined purchases. This is the shirt Atta wore, agents say.
If this jogs anybody's memory, please give us a call. The FBI number is on the inside of your phone book.
But there was nothing much distinctive left of the Boeing 767 the two men crashed into the World Trade Center. The FBI allowed a peek at the remnants today. A wheel and a charred fragment of fuselage were the only things recognizable, even though agents sifted through every scrap of it for clues.
But the most important clues in this case now are clearly coming from overseas, primarily in Europe, where foreign intelligence agencies have been flooding the FBI with tips and information on money transfers. And just as they do here, all the trails keep leading back to Osama bin Laden. Dan?
Jim Stewart in Washington. The government confirms one Florida man is in the hospital with anthrax. U.S. health officials call it an isolated case with no evidence of terrorism. Anthrax bacteria are not spread from person to person. Let me repeat that. Anthrax bacteria are not spread from person to person. People can catch anthrax through contact with infected livestock or soil, for example. In this one case, the anthrax germs were inhaled. The first such case in the U.S. since 1976. Next here on the CBS Evening News, Eye on America. U.S. student visas are so easy to get. One skyjacker had one. Are there more like him?
Why do I rent from Enterprise? For more cargo room, more people room, or more headroom. Enterprise. So easy, it's like having a second car. Or third.
Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
My business is more than just a business to me. It's my passion.
So when my doctor told me I have asthma, I went to cbshealthwatch.com. One click on Smart Search gives me exactly what I need to know about controlling my asthma, from medications to new treatments. With CBS Health Watch, I spend less time searching and more time doing the things I love.
Save time, get answers. Visit cbshealthwatch.com. Folgers Decaf. Really good coffee.
Sunday, my folks come by, special time, so that's why I'm baking up these crescents. They're the heart of the meal. My heart to yours.
Introducing the revolutionary new Icy Hot Patch. It concentrates pain relief where it hurts.
You gotta try this.
Icy first to dull the pain, then hot to relax it away for hours of relief. The new Icy Hot Patch.
Fantastic how long it works.
I'm every man.
And every woman who ever suffered from frequent, persistent heartburn.
If you've treated your heartburn and changed your diet, but it comes back 2 or more days a week, then you may know about the burning pain of acid reflux disease.
But there's something about acid reflux that I didn't know.
Over time, that acid churning up can wear away the lining of your esophagus.
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
I didn't.
But today, there's a purple pill called Nexium. It's from the makers of Prilosec. Just 1 prescription Nexium a day gives many people complete resolution of heartburn symptoms.
That could mean complete heartburn relief.
And importantly, Nexium is also proven to heal erosions in the esophagus caused by acid reflux. Only a doctor can determine if you have this damage. Other serious stomach conditions may still exist. The most common side effects of Nexium and Prilosec are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. So talk to your doctor and call this number for more information and for a free trial certificate for Nexium.
Relieve the heartburn, heal the damage. It's possible with today's purple pill called Nexium.
Tonight's Eye on America checks out a loophole in homefront security. Easy-to-get student visas help hundreds of thousands of foreign students enter this country every year for what is supposed to be legitimate study on campus. But as CBS's Sandra Hughes reports, in at least one case, a student visa helped an assassin carry out the attack on America.
For terrorist Hani Hanjour, who was on board the flight that slammed into the Pentagon, a student visa was all he needed to slip into the United States. And it wasn't hard to get. All he had to do was register for an English course held on this Oakland, California campus. He never showed up for class.
We don't know whether they are enrolled in the college or university they said they were going to attend. We don't know if they've gotten in any trouble with the law or been convicted of a crime. We don't know if they left when they were supposed to. We don't know anything about them.
That's because there's no national tracking system for the 500,000 people who enter the U.S. on student visas every year. So now politicians are scrambling to close the loopholes, proposing everything from a temporary halt of the entire program to a 30-day waiting period to ensure better background checks.
Investigators are scouring campus files for more than 200 schools. In a rare move, the FBI is demanding access to private student records and financial accounts in an attempt to find possible links to terrorists.
The school has the opportunity or the option to make available student records to law enforcement agencies where there is a health and safety emergency.
This isn't the first time problems with the student visa program have been exposed. A key figure in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing was here on an expired student visa. Still, some politicians and educators blocked a proposed national tracking system back then. Instead, a pilot program was launched. Duke University is one of 21 schools participating.
The system, when it works properly and when it goes national, should allow the Immigration Service to know that a student has entered the country, has arrived here at the school that was his destination, and is proceeding normally through their classes.
Most foreign students don't oppose better record keeping, but some fear a backlash that could harm a program that benefits them as well as America.
I think Americans are great people, and people at least in Pakistan think they're bad. And I mean, I can just educate them about the American way of life and how sensitive and caring Americans are.
Caring but concerned that American colleges may be an easy place for terrorists to hide out. In Los Angeles, this is Sandra Hughes for Eye on America.
The week-old ceasefire between Israel and the Palestinians in tatters tonight after another deadly attack. A Palestinian wearing an Israeli soldier's uniform opened fire with an assault rifle at an Israeli bus station. 3 people were killed, 14 wounded before surprise police shot and killed the gunman. Coming up next here on the CBS Evening News, the sounds of terror on a day of infamy.
6 weeks before one of the biggest games of my life, I felt a strange pain in my chest. What my doctor found was my toughest opponent yet. 3 of my arteries were more than 90% blocked. After recovering from surgery, lowering my high cholesterol became more important than football. Later, I was fortunate enough to coach my team in the biggest game of the season. That's the kind of play we need. Along with a healthy diet and regular exercise, taking Zocor every day helped significantly lower my total cholesterol.
Zocor is a prescription medication and is not right for everyone, including women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant, or people with liver problems. Your doctor may do blood tests to check for liver problems. Because serious side effects can result, tell your doctor about any muscle pain or weakness you experience while on Zocor and about any medicines you are taking.
When diet and exercise are not enough, talk to your doctor about Zocor. Take care of yourself. It's your future. Be there.
The flags are back up. They're playing football again. And thousands of people are once again experiencing the simple joy of buying a new car. And GM is helping with interest-free financing on every car, truck, and SUV now through October 31st. Keep the dream alive. Keep America rolling.
I'm every man.
And every woman who ever suffered from frequent, persistent heartburn.
If you've treated your heartburn and changed your diet, but it comes back 2 or more days a week, then you may know about the burning pain of acid reflux disease.
But there's something about acid reflux that I didn't know.
Over time, that acid churning up can wear away the lining of your esophagus.
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
I didn't.
But today, there's a purple pill called Nexium. It's from the makers of Prilosec. Just 1 prescription Nexium a day gives many people complete resolution of heartburn symptoms.
That could mean complete heartburn relief.
And importantly, Nexium is also proven to heal erosions in the esophagus caused by acid reflux. Only a doctor can determine if you have this damage. Other serious stomach conditions may still exist. The most common side effects of Nexium and Prilosec are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. So talk to your doctor and call this number for more information and for a free trial certificate for Nexium.
Relieve the heartburn, heal the damage. It's possible with today's purple pill called Nexium.
Firestone agreed today to recall 3.5 million more light truck tires, which safety regulators determined to be defective. The recall involves 15 and 16-inch wilderness all-terrain tires made before 1998 and is in addition to the 6.5 million tires Firestone recalled last year. The government has raised the number of deaths possibly linked to Firestone tire failures to 275. We want to take you back now to the day America was attacked, September 11th. In this report from CBS's Lee Cowan, you will hear emergency radio transmissions recorded by an amateur radio operator as the flaming World Trade Towers were crumbling, with thousands of people, including brave rescue workers, trapped inside.
Just as terrifying as the pictures from September 11th are the sounds. Today, the faces behind those frantic voices, the fire dispatchers on duty that day, talked of the pain of feeling so close and yet so very far away.
We kept trying to call out, see if there's anybody out there.
Line of 15, you have a message? Calling line of 5-6.
And just that dead silence. That silence was a very eerie feeling.
Monsita Corney was one of the dozens fielding 911 calls from those trapped in the upper floors that morning.
And just to be still, and you'll get some help. And then, of course, not much longer after that, there were no more calls.
And as the day wore on and the number of missing police and fire crews continued to climb, the hell played out over crackling radios took a toll of its own.
I felt guilt when the building came down. I felt very bad because I told them to stay there.
A lot of us feel responsible, a lot of us feel remorse about sending them in. But no matter what, you're not going to stop a fireman from going in a building. You're not going to stop a fireman from saving somebody's life.
All right, we have help on the way to you, Cap.
Echoes of heroism, both on the scene and off. Forced to listen to the horror instead of watch. Lee Cowan, CBS News, New York.
Injury and recovery. Go inside America's busiest burn unit to meet victims and the medical heroes who are saving them. Tomorrow on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
It's a different kind of Fixodent with no artificial flavors or colors. It's Fixodent-free. Fixodent holds stronger, holds longer than any other free adhesive. Fixodent and forget it with Fixodent-free.
A question of good health from the Tylenol Company and Johnson & Johnson Merck. Cold and flu season's coming. Time to ask what's in your medicine cabinet.
I have no idea what's in there.
Here's how to get your medicine cabinet in shape for the season. Throw out all the old stuff you don't use anymore. Remove any medicines with old expiration dates. Then restock with the things you'll need. For more tips, look for this display in stores everywhere.
This year I will be ready.
It's a question of good health from our family to yours.
You're not bigger. They're smaller. Mini Oreo.
What are you doing?
Laundry.
Laundry?
But I'm glad you're up. I've been waiting to vacuum. Breakfast. I'll pick up your tray when I get back from the market.
But it's Sunday. Aren't you going to lay around and watch football all day?
Not if I'm going to finish that roast in time for dinner.
Somebody had their Minute Maid this morning. It only takes a minute, but the feeling lasts all day.
Honey, what's the setting for chiffon?
Who'd you expect? Bob Dole?
Follow Mark Martin and the Viagra racing team this season.
Get to your doctor for a checkup and find out if a free sample of Viagra is right for you.
And for more information right now, race over to Viagra.com.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cause you heard the design and I'm angry. 5 days since you laughed at me, saying, let's together and come back and see me. Yesterday, you've forgiven me, but it'll still be today till I say I'm sorry. It's the finest of the flavors. And to see the show cause I know that I go as I'm going in the banger. It's your life to sign a waiver. I have a tendency to wear my mind on my sleeve. I had this it's been 1 week since you looked at me. Dropped your eyes to the sides and said I'm sorry.
The National Guard is now learning to use guns like police instead of soldiers for their patrols at CDS. The story tonight at 6.
A wounded but coming back nation takes a few more steps along the road to recovery. Washington's Reagan National Airport reopened today with very tight security, limited departures and arrivals, and few passengers. The first flight out was the U.S. Airways shuttle to New York City. These Oregonians are answering a plea from the mayor of New York to visit the city. Hundreds of them boarded what they're calling freedom flights for a weekend of sightseeing and spending money to support New York. And that's part of our world tonight. Dan Rather inviting you to tune again tomorrow for the CBS Evening News. Good night.
For news 24 hours a day, CBS.com on the internet and on our interactive partner, America Online, at keyword CBS News.